All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch this video. I want to have a discussion with you about some interesting news regarding the PlayStation brand that came out. Unfortunately for Sony, it's not good news. It's bad news. But I wanted to have this discussion because I actually think this is really good news for us, for the PlayStation fan base and the PlayStation user. I've seen quite a few people on social media, online, kind of reacting to this news, and it's understandable. And so I figured I would kind of just, give my take on this and talk to you guys a little bit about this. So before we dive into it, do me a favor if you do end up enjoying this video or finding it informative, or if you just like these discussion-based videos and you would like to have more of them, be sure to hit the like button. That's the easiest way for you to let me know. And if you are new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. So I'm heading over to an article that was written up by Push Square, and the title of this article says, Sony to take action as PS5, PS4 owners play less than anticipated. Not pay, not money. This is about engagement. They're playing on PlayStation less than anticipated. Now, this is a very significant thing because in 2022, as we know, the most important metric for these platforms and these platform holders, it's not just money. I mean, obviously, revenue and profitability are critical, but it's engagement, because the better the engagement, the higher the engagement, the more profitable you're going to be, the more money you're going to make. And so the really interesting angle about this that we have to pay attention to with what we're about to read is that it's not the fact that the engagement is less in general, because as we know, and Sony's going to highlight this as a reason why, the gaming industry is in a bit of a slump right now. It's in a bit of a lull period, and so it's understandable that these things would happen and that things would be lower. But the important takeaway is that it's lower than Sony expected. Now, that's the important part we want to pay attention to here. So it says one of the key details from Sony's quarterly financial report today, which also confirmed that the PS5 has shipped 21.7 million consoles, is that PS5 and PS4 owners are playing less than they were a year ago. The manufacturer noted that total gameplay time is down a sizable 15% year over year for the 3-month period ending June 30th, 2022. Now, a lot of this decline appears to be focused on April and May, with the platform holder pointing out it saw a 3% month-on-month increase in June, which itself was down just 10% year over year. However, it admitted, quote, "This is a much lower level of engagement than we anticipated in our previous forecast," end quote. Now, I really need to emphasize this quote from Sony. They anticipated a much higher engagement level. They're saying, and you have to pay attention to the terminology here, this is a much lower, not just a little bit, a much lower level of engagement than we anticipated with our previous forecast. See, this is why I had to make this video, because I saw a lot of people focusing on the statistic, which is the decline of profitability by 37%. Obviously, that's not good. 37% is bigger than 15%, but that has, I think, more to do with the fact that Sony didn't have any major game releases, and obviously that feeds into the engagement, but also the continuing growing costs of AAA game development. So it can kind of be explained away a little bit more easily, but to me, the 15% engagement is kind of a big deal, mainly because it clearly caught Sony off guard. And if there's anything that I think they're maybe a little bit worried about, if they're worried about anything, it's probably that. So this article continues by saying the company blamed the deceleration of the overall industry as a reason for the slide. Quote, "As opportunities have increased for users to go outside due to a reduction in CV-19 infections in key markets," end quote. But unsurprisingly, it's something that the firm aims to address. Quote, "We intend to take action to increase user engagement in the second half of the fiscal year, during which major titles, including first-party software, are scheduled to be released, primarily by increasing the supply of PS5 and promoting the new PS Plus service," end quote. So there are two key takeaways here with what Sony's saying. The first is that they're basically saying more people are going outside, And I think that that makes a lot of sense. There is truth to that. I don't know that that would be enough to explain away the 15% decline and basically Sony saying, we didn't expect this. But there's no doubt that more people are going outside in 2022 and they're just out and about doing things. And the more that people feel inclined to go outside and engage in outdoor activities, the less they're going to be playing on their PlayStation. And again, they also kind of highlight the fact that the entire industry is seeing a bit of a slide right now. So, yeah, these two things make sense for Sony to highlight because there's no doubt that they are contributing factors. But I'm just not convinced that these two factors alone are enough to kind of catch Sony off guard in this way. And then they're letting us know that they plan to tackle this in the upcoming quarter with releases like The Last of Us Part 1, God of War Ragnarok. These two games alone are obviously going to do, especially God of War, major numbers for Sony. In fact, God of War alone, I think, is going to carry Sony through, the rest of 2022 into 2023. And they're planning to increase PS5 production, which I'll probably make a separate video talking about that because we have some good news there. But this is what Sony's saying. They're talking about PS Plus Extra and Premium. They're talking about all the things that you would expect them to. And, these are just kind of surface level things that everybody already knows about. Of course, we know you're going to release these games and it's going to increase your numbers. Of course, we know you're going to try to increase PS5 supply leading into the holiday season. Of course, we know you're going to continue to support PS Plus Extra and Premium to help further, increase that engagement. But the article continues, or concludes, I should say, by saying Sony saw a 2% reduction in revenue during the aforementioned quarter, which isn't a terrible result in isolation, although increasing costs meant profit declined by a more significant 37%. Now, they end this article by saying, with a slump in software and add-on sales to blame, the reality is that the pandemic had a massively positive impact on PlayStation, and the numbers were always going to have to come back down to earth. Now, I don't fully agree with this. Okay, I partly agree with it because, yes, there is no denying that with the pandemic, it was going to artificially inflate some of these numbers, and we saw that gaming just kind of exploded during the pandemic. But I don't think it's just that. I think it's that combined with the fact that Sony maybe is just not doing things in the way, I'm not going to say in the way that they should be, because I don't know that that makes sense. What I mean to say is, I don't know that Sony is finding the ideal way to communicate with the core PlayStation fan base. Now, this is where things get interesting because there's always kind of a tug of war at play here with the PlayStation fan base, where on one hand, a lot of PlayStation fans are like, dude, Sony's talking all the time. They're releasing blog posts, they're doing stated plays, the studios are more, communicative than they've ever been, so on and so forth. And yeah, there is truth to that. And the most important thing is Sony has been releasing games at a steady pace, and a lot of these games, if not all of them, have been very good. So yeah, in the bigger picture, Sony's doing a lot of things right. But on the other hand, there are a lot of PlayStation fans who feel that Sony has changed their communication methods. And the thing that has changed is not even necessarily the frequency, right? It's not, again, that Sony is completely silent all the time, although they do seem to go these extended periods of time where they're just, a little blog post here, a little blog post there, pretty uneventful, pretty unexciting. And it just seems like between that and these smaller stated plays and just them kind of always feeling the need to play everything close to the chest and not necessarily being that open and transparent, there's a portion of the PlayStation fan base that feels like this is just not how Sony should be doing it. This isn't how they did it with the PS4 generation. And for some reason with the PS5 generation, they're doing things differently. And I've seen a lot of people, a lot of PlayStation fans just kind of express how they wish that Sony would go back to their old ways of communicating. They would go back to just being more transparent and not necessarily doing everything as it's like by the numbers and by the book and just kind of going through the motions. Because let's be honest, a lot of what Sony does today does kind of feel that way. It's not always bad. Again, I'm not trying to make it sound that way, but it's just when you look at this reduction, right, the 15% engagement, that could be a factor. I'm not claiming, and I don't want anybody to misunderstand me, I'm not claiming that's what it is and that's what caused it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that could be one factor. And what we could end up seeing as a result maybe Jim Ryan and the PlayStation marketing team may be thinking, what could we change? What should we change? Should we try to experiment? Should we maybe go back to some of our older communication methods, see how that works, see if we see an increase in engagement, right? That's just one possibility. But here's the main point I want to make in this video. And the whole reason why I'm making this video is that even though, you're going to see people talk about how, oh, this is bad for Sony, this is bad for PlayStation, what are they going to do? 37% decrease in profits? Oh, I guess their games aren't selling, or whatever it may be. That's been a big, topic right now. Is this, did Horizon Forbidden West, did it flop? Did GT7 flop? No, I don't think they flopped. They didn't release this past quarter, but the reality is they didn't seemingly help that much either, right, with this quarter. So you're going to see people kind of paint this as a very bad thing. And I will say, like, for Sony, for the company, for the business, yeah, it's bad. There's no way around it, right? You can't look at a 37% decrease in profitability and say, that's good. No, it's not. You can explain the reasons why, right? But it's not good. Same thing with the engagement, especially because that caught Sony off guard. This is great for us because what this ultimately means is Jim Ryan and company, now they're going to think, well, we got to do more now. We got to do more. How do we bring these numbers back up? By doing more, by getting people excited, by giving people a reason to be more engaged. See, that's what excites me. I know it seems a little strange because it's like, does it seem like I'm celebrating the fact that Sony's numbers are down? Maybe in a weird way, I kind of am, because I know what this means for the player base. I know what this means for the fan, especially the enthusiast, right? The enthusiast fan who's always paying attention to Sony and always kind of waiting to see what they're going to do next. This is a great sign for us because it means that Sony is going to work even harder for our money, and more importantly, work even harder for our time and for our attention. That's what these companies are fighting for now more than ever, our attention. And when Sony sees a surprise 15% drop, much lower than they anticipated, putting the profitability aside, that's where things are going to change. That's where, in their boardroom meetings and they have to strategize, they're going to start to think, well, we got to do something and we got to do more. And at the end of the day, I think this can only result in good things for the PlayStation user base. At least that's my hope. Maybe I'm being a bit overly optimistic. I tend to do that at times, but yeah, that's my takeaway from this. I'm not Sony. It's not my profits that are dropped by 37%, right? I'm not a multi-billion-dollar company. But what I know is that as somebody who is considered, a customer of theirs, they're gonna have to do something to bring those numbers back up. So yeah, I just figured I would have this discussion with you. Wanted to kind of change things up here on the channel for this video today. And so at this point, I'm going to be very interested to hear what you guys have to say. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let me know if you agree with me, why you agree with me, if you disagree, why you disagree, or maybe just, take a whole nother angle from this that I'm not seeing. I'm only one person, so I'm definitely going to be interested to see what you guys have to say. Again, leave the video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new, hit the bell notification icon, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.